Alright guys, so here we have another auction vehicle I picked up on Saturday. Today is Monday, Memorial Day, and this is not something I would typically buy. Well, that's not true. That's something I would buy for my collection. You guys remember when I was down in Florida, I was flipping a lot of cars, a lot of the AT&T fleet cars, the Malibus, the Cavaliers, stuff like that. So this is something that I'm going to end up flipping. Now, if I can't get good money for it, I'll keep it because I'm still into this. It's older, front-wheel drive GM, but it's not rare and unique like most of my older front-wheel drive GMs, like the Tornados and the Seville and the Riviera, etc. The Alante. This is just basic transportation. I have quite a few of those already. I've got the Century over here. I've got the LeSabre I picked up recently, the rust-free $300 LeSabre. So I've got plenty of daily drivers. If I didn't, this is something I'd hang on to, but I have plenty of those. I got the AT&T Malibu that I kept after my flipping streak of those ended. So let me tell you quickly how I ended up with this car and why I bought it. So George and I went up to the auction on Friday just to preview the cars that were coming up on Saturday. Because as I mentioned in a previous video, now you can't really see the cars. It's a live auction. You've seen some of my videos about this in the past if you're not new to the channel. And they drive them in. I used to check out the cars as they came through. You know, there'd be like 5 cars behind before they got to the auction blocks. I'd have time to kind of lay in the ground, look underneath them, and listen to how they're running, see if the exhaust smells funny or if it's smoking. Well, now they put up barricades because somebody got hit by a car that was coming into the auction house. So now there's barricades everywhere, and my only chance to really hear the car run is when it's right up at the auction block and the bidding is starting on it. So because of that, I haven't been filming there anymore because I really have to focus on the vehicle to make sure I want to bid on it and buy it. But what I've been doing now is going the day before the auction. You can go the morning of, but then you're kind of showing your interest in vehicles. No one's there the day before. So George and I went, we were looking at the cars. This was one on my list, but I said, you know, probably not. Lumina doesn't really have a high resale value. It's got 139,000 miles, which isn't high, but if this thing had 40,000 miles, I would have bought it because, hey, it's a great flip, low mileage. Or if it was a real time capsule, I probably would have kept it. Kind of like my 30,000 mile Century over there, the 04. So anyway, I looked at this car on Friday. I looked underneath, and I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about, but this car is spotless. There is zero rust anywhere. On the rockers and the dog leg area, which in this car is behind the door. It's kind of flush with the door, but no rust anywhere to be seen. And I said, geez, you know, this car has to be from the south. And another giveaway of that is on the passenger side is a lot of clear coat flaking. This side's in excellent shape. It was probably in a carport or something that the sun was always hitting it on this side. But once I saw that, I got much more interested in it. There is one area where there's rust. This vehicle, so I will say, so I ran the Carfax on this Friday night, as I do in all the auction cars before I bid on them, to get a better idea of their service history and maybe why they ended up at the auction. This was a Florida car until a few years ago, and so it's only been up here for a few years, and it was very well maintained from what I could see on the Carfax history. But being that it was a Florida car most of its life, that explains why it's so clean. This is the one area that's rusted. It appears to be rusting outward, so perhaps there's an issue where water's getting into the door and the drains are clogged and it's rusting out there. Could have just been some road salt that got in there because it has spent a few winters up here. I'm guessing it was driven in those winters, but it's bubbling. It hasn't rotted through yet, and it's probably why it hasn't affected this vehicle having an inspection, which, by the way, another huge selling point on this vehicle is it's inspected until December. So most cars at the auction are either uninspected, overdue for an inspection, or they can't be inspected because of a major defect, a safety issue or emissions issue. So this vehicle is still inspected for quite a while. That really helps sell a car and for top dollar, because the first question anybody will ask you in a state like this where there's inspections is it inspected? And if you say no, they ask you, why isn't it inspected? What will it take to get inspected? So when you have an inspection, it ends a lot of baloney questions. I also noticed on it, when I looked at it, it's got almost brand new tires. all around, and they're a good brand tire too. What are these, Sumi whatever? They're good tires. It's not like there's some Chinese tire. So I said, okay, it was obviously well maintained, rust-free. I'm interested. So I had a list of vehicles for the auction on Saturday. All the other ones did not pan out. They were either not running too well or the bids went too high. But this vehicle came up. I already knew it was clean, so all I had to check at that point was to see how it ran. And it pulls up and it's running real smooth. The Carfax did tell me that the lower intake manifold gaskets have already been changed. I'm sure a few are run down in the comments and write, oh, the 3.1, the intake gaskets, it's gonna blow a head gasket. Oh, the gaskets have already been done. That's evident when we look at the motor. I'll show you guys in a minute. The motor is very clean, very dry. Coolant's full and clean, oil's full and clean. So it ran well, there was no leaks. And I said, okay, well, it's summertime now. You can see, rocking the Fiero t-shirt, the mandals, and the shorts. So another big, important selling feature in vehicles this time of year up north is working AC. So here it is on the auction block. I'm waiting for the starting bid to come down. They start at like 1,500 and they come down to 12,000. Nobody's bidding on it because it's a Lumina, and none of them looked underneath it, probably like me, and knew that it was rust-free. They probably looked at that door on the passenger side and said it's a rust bucket. But I felt inside, they had the window open, the AC was ice cold. I go, okay, I definitely want this car. So the lowest you can bid at this auction is $225 on most vehicles, because most cars like this that have some scrap weight to them, the junkyard guarantees a $200 bid on. So I threw the minimum bid up, which was $225, and nobody else bid. I won the car for $225. So after the auction fees, I'm into this car for about $360, give or take. I don't remember exactly, I have the paperwork, but I'm into it for about $350, $360. Out the door, in my name, that's it. No more fees, so it's $225 plus 100 something in auction fees. So $360, I have a rust-free, with the exception of that door, but again, the important area, the undercarriage, rust-free, very well running, ice cold AC, 4 new tires, car. Who cares what it is? And it's inspected. You know, it could be a Corolla, a Lumina, a Taurus, nobody cares. This is a great car to sell quickly and cheaply. And the beauty of that is I'm only into it for $360. So my target price on this car when I go to sell it, I'm gonna list it for probably somewhere around $1,500, which is on the high side for a Lumina. But you have to remember, it's still inspected for a while, has great tires all around, and has ice cold AC. Those are 3 of the most important things when you're selling a car, and it has no rust. Again, that door, what I'm probably gonna do with that, and some of you are not gonna like this, but you have to understand, look at the car. It's missing clear coat, it's a 98 Lumina. Okay, no one's buying this car to go to a car show. And by the way, before somebody comments saying there's rust here, it's not rust. This is just probably popping off or flapping around the wind, so the previous owner taped it. But look, no rust there. I knew someone was going to comment, they put tape there because there's rust. No rust there. This, yes, it's a quick fix to sand this down, put some body filler, skim it. You know, you can get some rubbing alcohol or bug and tar remover and get these rust stains off the door, or even some rust reformer. Quick fix, but you gotta look at the rest of the car. It's not even worth my time. The car is gonna sell for the same money either way. I'll probably just put some color matched Gorilla Tape over this, and obviously I'm gonna tell whoever looks at the car, hey look, if you couldn't tell, it's kind of obvious. There's some tape there. There is some bubbling underneath that. Let them decide what they want to do. They can obviously put a different door on it, or they can fix it professionally. For me, it's not worth my time. I'm not that good at Bondo work anyway. I get very impatient and it comes out like crap. So I just cover it up with some tape, send it down the road. But if I knew my local junkyard had a Lumina door this color, then I would just put a different door on it. I find that easier than doing all the mixing. I hate mixing, the stupid body filler. You're gonna take the 2 and the putty. It's a pain in the ass. If they just squeezed it out, then I would do it. But I don't feel like doing that. You can see dog leg area, no rust at all. Rockers, no rust. That's what's important. That's what's going to keep this unibody car on the road for years to come. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to start it up for you guys. You can hear it run. It runs excellent, smooth, quiet, no misfires, no nonsense, no leaks. This is a great car. And the more I talk about it, the more I want to keep it. But again, I don't need another one. I got, you guys know, I keep a lot of cars that I buy to flip, I end up keeping. This is one that it's going to make somebody a great car. It doesn't have to be me. So here we go. Oh, by the way, oh, this is pretty neat. How many Luminas do you know still have their keyless entry? Look at the condition of it. No wear on the buttons. These are replica keys. They're not the originals, but they still have the little GM security fob. Check this out. Still works. I mean, I've got my Escalades. Both of them are missing the key fob. Here we have a Chevy Lumina. It still has it. That's awesome. I didn't even know these cars came with that. It's got power windows, power locks. You know, not a loaded car, but it's got all the options you need. All the power windows work. Go ahead and fire her up. Fires right up. The battery was even perfect in the car. Most auction cars I get, even if they're well-maintained cars, that sit there for a while, the batteries are shot afterwards. You can't even recondition them. This battery has no problems. Only warning light we have is change oil soon. You know, in these cars, to reset that, you have to like put your armpit in the steering wheel and count to 10 or something, and then it resets it. But the I know you guys can't feel it, but the AC, you hear the compressor just kicked on. It's ice cold, works beautifully. Got the original AC Delco radio here, which I love to see that. I hate aftermarket radios. Dashboard is in pretty good shape. You know, typical popping up here a little bit from the Florida sun, I have to imagine. The oil change is even current. Doesn't need to have the oil change. The oil's clean. The only thing I have to do to this vehicle, I'm going to do it in a minute. I got my vacuum out already. Is I got to give it a vacuum. It's probably from the auction, from people checking it out and getting dirt inside of it. The seats could be cleaner, but you know, I'm going to be selling this car cheap. It really isn't worth my time to clean them. Ice cold AC, just what you want to have this time of year. Let's go have a listen to that engine. You can see power windows working perfectly. This is a little tacky the way they mounted this front plate thing. I'll probably take that off for the pictures when selling it, and then obviously they're going to need that to put a front plate on, but I think it's going to look better without that. Runs fantastic. Just residual buildup around the valve cover, but no bad leaking going on. You can see it's had a recent alternator replacement. Typically what goes bad on these motors for accessory parts, alternator, power steering pump, and then for engine problems, you get the lower intake gaskets that fail. Those have already been replaced. It says it right in the Carfax. It was done within the past 7 years. So I don't have to worry about any coolant oil mixture. You can see, nice clean coolant. The coolant was flushed out recently. Dex Cool is okay as long as you change it enough. If you leave it in there for 15 years, then you get the acidic buildup and the clogging of your cooling system. But she runs beautifully. Newer upper radiator hose here. You can see it's not over pressurized, but it's hot like it should be. So how do you go wrong for $360? You get a perfect running, driving. Oh, and the transmission fluid's nice and pink. A lot of these motors don't have a dipstick. This one does, but it's nice and pink. This car needed nothing. I bought it at the auction, walked out, got in it, started it right up, and drove it right out. Everybody else is out there, all the junk they bought, you know, dumping oil and antifreeze into them, filling up tires, and listening to their engines knock, and the transmission's not shifting. We just drove right out. We were home 30 minutes later. And this is I haven't driven the car since. So I'll tell you guys what, I'm going to give this thing a quick vacuuming. I'm going to take off the auction writing. I'll take you out for a drive in it. Really isn't anything exciting, but why not? All right, so here we are out in the Lumina. Promised you guys I'd take you on a little bit of a drive. And again, there's not much to say or show about it. It's a Chevy Lumina. It's basic, reliable, comfortable transportation, and it will be a great car for somebody for that. Maybe for me, you know me, I can't help but keep these cars, even the ones that aren't anything special or unique. I just like to see them have a good home. You don't find these cars anymore, and people don't care about them, so they get junked and they get beat up, and I don't know, I feel bad for them. I'm weird like that. I'd love to just keep this car around, give it a good home, but I don't need it. Hopefully it gets a good owner, takes care of it, gives them years of reliable service. I always like the Lumina badge here on the dash. It's a nice basic car, and like most cars in the 90s, the interior color matches the exterior color. It's tan on tan, or gold on gold, whatever you want to call it. I'd say it's more of a tan on tan, absolutely, if you look at the door car. But you can see I vacuumed the interior. A couple of stains here in the carpet. If I had more time, I would have just quickly gave them a brush, but we're fighting daylight here. I want to get some pictures of this thing taken so I can put it up for sale. But I did put down these floor mats I had laying around somewhere, Mercedes-Benz floor mats that cover the carpet very well. There was nothing too terrible, but just some coffee stains and stuff like that in the carpet. So it covers those up for the pictures. Typically I would clean those mats before I put them in, but didn't have time for that. You can see we're fighting the sun right there. It's coming down fast. We want to have enough light for good pictures. You'll see in a minute when we get to the location where I take my photos at. I like that it's a big open area. I always do that when I take pictures of my cars I'm selling. You don't want any distractions in the background. You want the focus of the picture to be the car. So when someone's scrolling online, they don't see, the car, but your house in the background, your kids over there squatting in the bushes. You just want the car with a nice open background, with nothing that's going to capture your attention. So when someone's scrolling, they see the car, it gets their attention. It's got to look good. This is a great place to take those pictures, especially at sunset. It's going to have a nice golden glow, highlighting that flaking clear coat. The rust in the door, I put some tape over it, because I'm not sure, the more I look at it, it's a pretty easy fix. I might just take the time tomorrow and Bondo it and paint it. If it takes me an hour with a little extra content or something. So because I'm not sure if I'm going to fix that yet, I'm going to take a picture of it today, but I'll leave it off the ad temporarily. And obviously if someone schedules to see it, I'll inform them, hey, just so you know, there is some rust in the door. It's on the exterior only, not within the inside of the door, and it's just bubbling, but just so you know. And if I fix it, then I'll take another picture showing that side in good condition. If I don't fix it, I'll put the picture up with the taped up rust. But you can see everything works, looks good, interior's clean, vacuumed the seats, and you'll see in a minute that I also took off all the stickers in the back, and we took off the auction writing, obviously, on the windshield. So all right, so go ahead and take a look at her. Not a perfect car by any means, I want to disclose that. Obviously there's some damage in the fender here, clear coat issues as I showed earlier, but it certainly looks better. One of the big changes I did for the pictures was took off that funky mounted front plate holder. Still have it, could probably just flip it around, but I think it looks nice and clean without it in the meantime. Didn't wash the car or anything, it was already very clean, and again, it's got all sorts of blemishes all over. It's basic transportation for somebody, but took off most of the stickers. This one was giving me a fight, the old tenant parking once I left it, but the rest of them are gone. The Freemason badges, I got the glue off from there. All the other stickers that were here. And this side, you can see, again, I put tape over the rust. Actually, the way I took the picture isn't show that, but again, I will obviously make sure to fully disclose that to anybody before they come look at the car if it's something that's going to bother them that much. But it shouldn't. You can see it's covered. This would pass inspection just like this because you're no longer able to touch the rust. So this would pass flying colors. But the important thing, like I said, is the structure. There's no undercarriage rust. There's no rust in the rockers or on the unibody structure of the vehicle. Here's the interior all cleaned up. So this is where I like to come to take pictures of the cars. It's a nice open area, like I was saying on the way here, where there's plenty of mosquitoes, but there's nothing that's going to get in the way of showcasing the vehicle. And again, you're all laughing at me saying, there's nothing to showcase here. It's basic transportation. You could have took a picture of this thing in your driveway and probably get the same result. Probably right, but this is the way I do it, be it a $1,000 car or a $20,000 car. So I came here to take the pictures. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Once again, remember, this is cheap, basic transportation for somebody. Don't think I'm trying to show you some hot rod over here that I absolutely stole this car. It really isn't worth much more than $300 I paid for it. But you got to remember those few key things that make this car worth the absolute most it can be worth. Inspection, air conditioning, no rust, lower mileage. Yeah, not low, lower. And basically brand new matching tires all around. Those 4 factors make this car worth a lot more than just your standard Lumina. So if it doesn't sell, it'll be staying in my fleet. Maybe I'll put some Monte Carlo wheels on it and fix a couple of the blemishes, and I'll have a real nice Lumina. That's what I love about cars like this. When I buy them at the auction, I buy them to sell them, but if for some reason I get stuck with it, I don't really see the profit I was expecting in it, I have no problem keeping a car like this in my fleet. If it was a Honda Accord, I would want nothing to do with it. But something like this, you know, I like that stuff. So anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for the next one.